In March of 2001, in fact, that whole spring, I was in the throes of that giddy, starry-eyed phase of a new romantic relationship. I had just had a prolonged dating drought, so it was particularly nice to finally meet someone who I connected with on a number of key levels. We had met online, but not on a dating site. We both wrote for an online news parody site, like The Onion, but not The Onion. So already we shared a love of satire and absurd humor. We also both idolized guitarist Stephen Stills. Adam, his name was Adam, had actually met Stills when he worked security at a concert venue. And he promised me he would use his connections to get us backstage when we went to see Crosby, Stills, and Nash later in the summer at Merriweather Post. And even if that tantalizing prospect hadn't been a thing, I was very happy to have Adam in my life. The only downside to our budding romance was that it was long distance. Adam lived 250 miles away in Pennsylvania. But at least it wasn't Phoenix, where Adam had lived when we first met online, and before a spectacular streak of bad luck had hit him and landed him unemployed, broke, and forced to move back to Pennsylvania to live with his mom and dad at age 44. It'll come to you. So he was living with his parents, and bad luck, oh, that was it, speaking of bad luck wasn't done with him yet. While he was playing a pickup game of basketball with his high school buddies, Adam suffered a mini stroke. And that's when our relationship got started. I had reached out to him to cheer him up after his subsequent surgery to clean out that carotid artery. And we went from chatting online to talking on the phone for hours and hours and hours. And finally, we met face to face in March of 2001. Now, for all the time that we had spent together on the phone and for all that I had fallen for Adam's childlike sense of fun and his charm, at this first meeting, he was a little standoffish. We had exchanged photographs, and we had described ourselves to each other, rather frankly, warts and all, so neither one of us was under the delusion that the other was a fashion model. But when Adam first laid eyes on me, he blurted out, "Oh, I thought you were going to be skinnier." I wanted to say, "Well, you look exactly like what I expected, a live action Fred Flintstone with a better haircut. But I'm here for your charm and your warmth, not for your looks." Instead, I asked, "Is that going to be a deal breaker? Should I go home right now?" "Oh, no. Stay. You have pretty eyes. And I am really glad that you came all this way to see me." In spite of that rocky start, we actually enjoyed each other's company. And we had a nice weekend together in that swanky hotel room in the Poconos. We talked and we laughed and we made love, and we generally acted like a couple of starry-eyed middle-aged kids. In spite of the physical distance between us, I really enjoyed my relationship with Adam. It felt good to be the one good thing he had going for him, in spite of all his other setbacks, medical and financial. I wasn't repulsed by that scar on his neck from his surgery that he was so self-conscious about, and I didn't mind paying for our hotel bills. I knew that Adam would pick up his share of tabs once he was back on his feet. On the other hand, Adam's mother, not a warm woman, would constantly ask him what I could possibly see in him. I was a professional. He had no job, no money, and he lived with his parents. She warned him that I would dump him any day now. And even though I did my best to reassure Adam during our marathon phone calls and our AOL instant messenger sessions, that was not at all the case, and that I was in it with him for the long haul. The damage had been done. When we spent our next weekend together in April of 2001, Adam was distant and grumpy and not at all starry-eyed. He said, somewhat jokingly, "Listen, baby, lose 25 pounds or I'm going to drop you." And I let it slide, just like I had learned to let so many other things slide with Adam. I knew he wasn't feeling good physically, and I knew he wasn't feeling good about himself. And besides, it was hard to take something like that seriously when Adam couldn't see his own toes over his own ginormous belly. Nonetheless, at the end of that weekend, Adam's communications with me started to taper off. He no longer peppered his IMs with kissy face emoticons, and my emails to him went unanswered for days at a time. When I would call his house, his mom would say he was out. And my messages of, well, tell Adam I'm thinking about him and that he can call me Colette anytime he wants to, were met on her end with stony silence. Like mother, like son, Adam eventually went silent. He ghosted me. And on a Saturday afternoon in May of 2001, I sat in my apartment alone in a deep, deep funk over Adam. Why could he no longer accept my unconditional affection and support? Had his mother finally gotten to him? Was he really that put off by my looks? Had he met someone else? And why wouldn't he talk to me? I had fallen for his childlike personality, but now he was being straight up childish. And damn it, I deserved better than that. As I lay brooding over this deep, ugly scratch in what just a few months earlier had been a shiny new relationship, I heard loud laughter in the hallway. And then I heard loud knocking on each apartment door. A trio of 12-year-old girls had somehow gained access to the building, and from the sound of it, they were selling something door to door, presumably for a school fundraiser. They were having fun, but they were being loud. And I don't tolerate loud noise under the best of circumstances. And this was not the best of circumstances. When the loud knock came on my door, I was full-on enraged. I ripped my door open, and I glared at the young woman who was standing in front of me. The other two were down the hall working other doorways. She started to go into her spiel, but I cut her off. "Didn't you see the sign outside that says no soliciting? That means you're not allowed to sell things in here, and you and your friends are being very loud. You're disturbing the people who live here." I was too mad to notice that I was being louder than they had been at that point. The poor girl was stunned, and before she could say anything, I slammed my door shut right in her face. After a few seconds of stunned silence, I heard one of the other girls say, "What did she say to you?" But if there was an answer, I didn't hear it. I only heard 3 pairs of footsteps running down the steps and out of the building. Remorse set in almost immediately. But it was already too late for me to run after them and apologize. Now, they had been disruptively loud, and soliciting was forbidden in the building. But that poor girl didn't deserve to be yelled at the way I had yelled at her. And to this day, I regret not being able to explain to her that when I had yelled at a child for acting like a child, I was really yelling at an adult who had been acting like a child. Wherever you are, I'm very sorry. But speaking of Adam, He broke his silence a few weeks later. He broke up with me over AOL Instant Messenger. I had just won an award through that news parody site, an award that Adam hadn't even been considered for. So he was writing to me to let me know that as far as he was concerned, the only way I would have been even considered for that award, let alone won it, was that I must have been sleeping with the owner of the site. And he wanted nothing to do with me ever again, period. I think he expected me to fall apart at being dumped by him like that. But my screaming at that poor child had woken me up. I felt, frankly, like he had given me another award. And when Adam reached out to me a few weeks after that, asking if maybe I might consider getting back together, I took a page out of his book and I ignored him. Wait, there's more. I found someone else to go see Crosby, Stills and Nash with. And even though I never made it backstage, I had a lovely time. Thank you.